Shout out to Maddie, just a person on Facebook. I saw them post in an advice group saying like, I can't believe I'm so unaware, yada yada. Can someone please explain this climate change thing to me and why it's so important? And then saying like, please don't spray me, which I guess means don't dunk on her. And firstly, it's good, very brave for asking that question. If you don't know, how are you going to know? I got to post 2 of the videos I've done on it, and it made me realise that I can't just give my point of view. And I do what I told myself not to do with this channel, and that's assume that people know what I know. So, thanks to that post, we are now going back to the beginning, back to the core of it, because I did chemistry all through school, so it just made nothing but sense to me. And yeah, the companies and their websites, let's just put it as this video is pretty much my finishing move. Alright, what do you mean climate change? Well, I'm going to bring you down to the atom, son. We've got the 3 major players here: hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Alright, important things about atoms is they have a nucleus, which is made up of protons, which are positively charged, and neutrons don't have a charge. And around the nucleus they have their shells, which are where the electrons hang out. They're the bits we're going to be looking at because they're doing the hard work. Now, important thing to keep in mind is with the shells in the first layer, there's 2 of them. Second one, 8, third one, 8, and so on. Alright, first we'll do hydrogen. So at the top it's number 1, and it's because it's got 1 proton as its nucleus and 1 electron in its outer shell. Carbon, 6 neutrons, 6 protons in its nucleus, and it has 6 electrons. Ooh, 666. Maybe there's something to that. Anyway, so there's 2 on the inside and the remaining 4 go on the outside. Last one, oxygen. 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and it's got 8 electrons in the outer shell. So that's 2 in the first one and 6 in the outer one. Okay, let's have a look at how we get the infamous CO2. Alright, carbon dioxide, and to save time, we'll just do a whole circle as the nucleus with the letter so you know which one it is. And remember, nucleus are the protons and the neutrons. And we're going to have a look at how the electrons behave. Alright, here's the thing with atoms. The whole 2 in their first shell, 8 in their next shell, they kind of feel a bit awkward until that's complete. So they'd rather find a buddy who can help fill that. So carbon usually wants to find another 4 to complete its outer shell. And oxygen needs to find another 2 to complete its outer shell. So when you get 1 carbon and 2 oxygens, when they share the electrons, they all have 8 in their outer shell. So that's why when you have 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen, the carbon's satisfied with its outer shell, and so is the hydrogen, because remember, they want 2 on the first one. These are the things that are going to kill us, guys. Woo! If anyone so much as suggests to you that this is a debate, that there's 2 sides to this, if they don't want to go with the science, okay, maybe go with the advice from one of my previous videos and lay the whole cigarettes, asbestos, when have corporations not lied to you? See, people always complain about the government lying to you. Well, if you make it good, they're not meant to, but corporations, you don't keep them in check, what do you reckon they're going to do? Like, our politicians, other politicians, are pretty buddy-buddy, pretty friendly with different big oil and mining, like that's Prime Minister and Minister for Resources, and then all of them in the White House, with Gina the Hutt. That's why I say, follow the money, look at the laws that are made, look where the money goes. That's why I can show you the same thing through the budget, through acts, through a fucking bingo card. But to really just put it to bed, why don't we check with some of the companies themselves? ExxonMobil, they agree it's going down. 40 years they've had the research going. They're gonna be super helpful. On their website, let's have a look. Taking action on climate change. I know, I'm a bit sus, but we'll see what their 4 components of climate change risk management: developing technology solutions, mitigating emissions in our operations, providing solutions for customers, and what's that? Engaging on climate change policy. That's a bit That's a bit problematic. Oh, and the hashtag #XOnNew. Understanding the controversy. #XOnNew is a campaign orchestrated by activists and trial lawyers to misrepresent ExxonMobil's position and research on climate change. For the past several years, activist organizers have sought to punish ExxonMobil for voicing their opinions on climate policy, even though the company supports policies that limit climate change. What? Getting yourself huge subsidies? But hey, they might not be doing much to fix it, but they admit it's happening. And that's just hilarious though. Oh, engaging with policy. ExxonMobil, I'm pretty sure that's the company that Rex Tillerson's from, and he was one of the less nuttier ones in the White House. Like, come on guys, this is beyond the joke. I'll play bits of a movie, 28 minutes long, but I'll have the link to the whole thing below. Just thought I'll highlight some of the good bits.
The Moon. In shadow, its surface temperature drops to minus 150 degrees Celsius. In sunlight, it rises to over 100. Virtually at the same distance from the Sun, temperatures on Earth are much less extreme, and we owe this life-giving fact to its atmosphere, in particular to the presence of the so-called greenhouse gases. Throughout the long period of man's rise to civilization, this blanket of heat-absorbing gases has kept the average global temperature around 15 degrees Celsius, against the Moon's minus 20. But in the last 150 years, this balance has been altered. Burn any organic matter, and its content of carbon combines with oxygen. Burning a cubic meter of natural gas produces roughly 2 kilograms of carbon dioxide. A liter of gasoline, 2.5 kilos. Burn a ton of coal, and you release up to 4 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Since 1850, the consumption of these fossil fuels has increased 100-fold. Add to this the more recent burning of the tropical forests, and the result has been a marked and accelerating increase in the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What's more, there's been an even sharper increase in other, even more potent greenhouse gases, which absorb energy at different wavelengths, retaining even more heat in the atmosphere. Nitrous oxide and ozone, mainly from traffic. Methane from cattle and rice fields. And new to nature, the CFCs, used as blowing and cleaning agents and refrigerants. These other gases could soon be absorbing as much radiation as carbon dioxide. But has this started to make the Earth warmer? Accord with computer models based on the known atmospheric processes and predicted buildup of the greenhouse gases. These models contain many uncertainties, but they forecast that by 2050, global mean temperature could have increased by at least 1.5 degrees, possibly near 4. Snow. In a crowded world, subject to such adverse shifts of climate, who would take care of such greenhouse refugees? Faced with such a disturbing scenario, governments are having to consider their response. Global warming is not yet certain, but many think that to wait for final proof would be irresponsible. Action now is seen as the only safe insurance. But what should that action be?
Alright, to recap, over the last X many years, because of population growth and industrialization all over the world, we've created more gases that I drew at the start of this video, and we've destroyed things like the Amazon. I think since the 60s, they've wiped out 20% of it, like a portion larger than France, and it's probably a lot more now because they've kicked that up a notch. Things that are meant to help us take out some of the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, we've destroyed, and we're completely fucking our atmosphere. So the sun is going to have a more damaging effect, and temperatures will continue to rise. The earth is going to have more intense and unpredictable natural disasters. Ice caps will melt, sea levels will rise, and the thing that people don't know about ice caps on the face of it is, other than the water, is the gases that get released from that too add to it all, and you can't put it back in the ice. You're going to tell me that when you have politicians just going from industry back into politics, back into an industry, and 71% of global emissions are caused by 100 companies. I betcha a lot of those 100 companies are heavily involved in that process. And the ones that donate, where many major countries have their politicians bought by coal and oil companies, industries that they go to war for, where it's not even hidden anymore, it's just known. Troops are sent to places because of oil. That industry isn't going to put up one hell of a fight. You're going to tell me after seeing how tobacco went down and asbestos and anything that seems to kill a lot of people. That video, that 28-minute video, which I encourage you to watch, is meant to be like, it's older than I am, 28 years old. And there are people out there that have the nerve to yell at kids for striking because they want a future, when it's like, this has been known before I was born. I remember being taught just about how things work at school. And for people that get all defensive and get all angry and aren't being paid, you just look silly. If you're not getting a paycheck from one of these companies that's doing it, then what are you doing? Stop it. You're being ridiculous. It's like boomers to my generation were like, nah, the economy's fine, what are you talking about? Yeah, inflation, that goes up, but wages don't. It's just how it is. Nah, fuck what you know. No, your numbers, you're wrong. And then the next generation, the environment, it's fine. Yeah, the emission levels go up and that's about all there is to it. Fuck what you know. But really, this isn't a generation versus generation thing. This is something that everyone needs to work together on, and it's people versus corporations versus capitalism. I've already mentioned a few things that should have explained why this is a hell of a fucking battle. You get the military-industrial complex, you've got bought politicians, usually with legalized bribes as donations, you've got potent propaganda and capitalism running itself into the ground, and people with their little social wars, which then go on to actual real wars, all circulating around as to like a chainsaw we're holding to our own neck. So when people, politicians, go to dismiss, children's futures or island nations like Fiji or Tuvalu wanting to just continue to exist and survive, when you open your mouth and something about coal mine comes out, you might think it's words, but it's really just the vapor of absolute greed. Oh, and the fucked up thing about this shell thing is it goes through the planet's fucked. Yep, we think we know why. It's all these gases, and they go through about nuclear not being ready in time, not safe enough, and then Shell, the oil company, starts going on about how best chance is probably gas, more methane. At least now, 28 years later, we know that's probably worse. So yeah, past generations, you saw the fight with tobacco, asbestos, other damaging things. You saw that struggle, and now it's the same struggle up against people that have armies and the economy so deeply entwined and attached to it. Politicians bought and paid for, positions in governments, potent propaganda, but they've still said it's happening. Best case admitted as them, worst case says it's happening. So if you got two people in shipping containers, one full of trees, the other one full of a generator and a bonfire, if that argument isn't enough for you, I hope this video does the trick. Telling kids to go to school and study science and engineering instead of striking for the environment and the climate is like giving someone a magnifying glass when you're sawing off their leg just so they can... Thank you, like, subscribe, become a patron at WDYM videos.